Hello and welcome to another video. First of all, thank you to all the new members, thank you to all the new subscribers, and thank you for everyone hitting the like button on my videos. It means a lot to me that you take that time to do it. We are looking at Timeslip. Look, I know this is going to be like Timeslip Tuesday, but it wasn't meant to be Timeslip Tuesday. I was doing research on another video and I come across Horning. Now, I've been to Horning in Norfolk a lot of times. Spent many times on a boat up there and visiting there, and yeah, being on holiday in like Yarmouth and all that. Always ended up at Horning and Wroxham and all that on Norfolk Broards because it's just beautiful. And I found this Timeslip story, and it got weirder and weirder and weirder, and I ended up going down a bit of a rabbit hole. Give me your thoughts on this, because this is the only this is the only solid reports we've got of time slips that reoccur again and again at not a random pattern, but like every 5 years, and it's a really bizarre one. But first of all, I want to tell you a couple other stories that are time slips to get your opinion on them as well, because they're just as confusing. We are in, I have to work out how to say this, and that is Sheford. Now that is near Bedford. You got a gentleman driving down Bedford Road. Now he's been out all day, he's quite tired, and he's trying to get home from work. He gets stuck behind a tractor. Now the traffic has slowed down. He is the only person behind this tractor, but he can see headlights behind him. But as he's following the tractor down the road becomes very narrow. He doesn't remember the road being that narrow like this beforehand. Then the tractor stops, and the cars behind him pull out and squeeze past. He describes them as miniature vehicles from World War II. Now the problem we've got, this is in 1990, and all these vehicles in a bit of a convoy go past him. He's looking at them in quite awe, thinking, wow, they're fantastic. He looks back up, and the tractor that was in front of him has disappeared, and the road is wide again. As you're looking out the driver's window, his eyes follow the vehicles in front of him as he turns his head, and as he looks straight out the windscreen, the vehicles disappear. Now, being how I am, I find it very strange and looked into it, and I concur with somebody's report where they turn around and say that it seems it's quite an embellished story, knowing that this road went past the old RAF Henlow military base, and that maybe this person was trying to create a interesting story for somebody. But then only a few years later, this story gets retold with a slightly different version with a different person. This time we have a couple of holidaymakers from America that have been in the country and driving around on a trip. They end up coming down this road. We don't know the reasons why, but they come down this road. The same thing happened. They see all these military vehicles going along the road and turning into an airbase. When they get to Bedford and they're talking to other people, and they mention about all these military vehicles going along, and it was all like World War II reenactment stuff, the people there were saying that this isn't possible, that airbase is not really used anymore, and they don't have these sort of stuff on there. And they looked up for them, and they found out there was no military reenactments going on or anything like that, and what they see could not have been possible. Now I'm going to say you've got to be careful with this type of reported time slip. Where I live, I've got coal asphalt just down in East Tilbury. And over the years, you could be going along the area, and all of a sudden you'll see all these World War II trucks and soldiers going past. And yes, if you're going through a lanes and all of a sudden you see all this World War II militaria going past you, you could believe that you're in a time slip. Now, I would say that the American visitors, very, very plausible that could have been the case. With the first gentleman, I think, because he described the road narrowing and getting wider, and he's never noticed this before, I guess you could give that a little bit of credibility. But I said, the people when this first come out sort of threw a bit of doubt on it, that this was more of a made up story. So how good is your memory? When can you remember things? If Somebody said, do you remember going to this place on holiday? Do you remember we went to this town or this place on holiday? Can you remember the exact year? Can you remember the exact year and who was with you at that time? Or as the years go on, do you start mixing up locations and the people you was with and maybe the years? This is something that we have to question in this next one, because we have a couple that have gone on holiday down in Norfolk. Now this isn't the haunting story, and they go over to Lowestoft. Years ago they went to this holiday camp before when they didn't have children, they just stayed there as a couple. Now they've selected this holiday camp because they remember when they were last there that the swimming pool was fantastic, and now they have 2 little children. They wanted to take them back there and for their children to enjoy it. So nothing unusual at all. They arrive at the holiday camp and the swimming pool isn't what they remember. And they say to a member of staff, the swimming pool was like a double swimming pool and it had a big curve on it, and you had this like fountain in the centre and it was lovely. The staff go, we've never had a fountain like that. And that they start arguing with the staff, saying that we know that this fountain used to be like it, and maybe it was before that staff member worked there. That staff member turns around and says they've actually worked there since the camp opened in the 60s, and they've been there almost 40 years. The couple are confused and they're going back over all their holidays trying to think, have we made a mistake? Have we picked the wrong holiday camp? After a few days of enjoying their holiday, they're still having a wonderful time. Their kids are loving the holiday camp and the entertainment was fantastic. They're walking around the holiday village there and they come across some photographs of the old buildings. When they notice something, in one of these photos is this swimming pool that they remember going to only about 10-15 years ago, before they had children, but it's black and white and it's really old. And they're looking at this photograph and saying that's definitely the swimming pool. When they look at it, it has a name that it hasn't actually been recorded what the name of this place was, but it was a sort of like a private getaway place, and the people that used it were from high society coming up from London. When they asked around, and they asked the manager of the camp, and he gave them the information that they were looking for, he told them that in 1955 that fountain and the swimming pool was removed before it was turned over to a holiday camp for the general public. Now this confuses me because I can't get this straight in my head. Does this mean we're looking at them having a time slip back then and they ended up in some weird 1950s time slip that they didn't identify? Or did they see that photograph before when they were there and looked at it and their memory just got warped and now they're misremembering where they went on holiday? Now there is this case where you can be told something and you go into a lot of detail. When they're telling you, they go into a lot of detail and tell you it. All of a sudden you start making up your own memories of what that place was like, even though you've never been there before. When you look back over sort of 10-15 years, could that memory become a true memory in your head based on false information? Okay, so now we come to the main location and like the main story base of this video. We are in Horning. Now Horning is on the Norfolk Broards. It's between Wroxham and Lytham, and you know the history of the Norfolk Broards is that it's sort of like Anglo-Saxon trading routes, and the river was a major thoroughfare all the way from Norwich down to Great Yarmouth. So it had a lot of history and a lot of Anglo-Saxon finds have been found there, but it's also quite historic land, and sort of it all dates back to sort of like 1020 as well. The name Horning was given to it by King Canute, and it means people living between rivers on high ground. So quite a strange name, but that's where Horning comes from. But talking of strange, this story has slightly different aspects to it when we talk about time slips. First of all, I'm going to say now that this time slip has been reported quite a lot of times, and it seems that every 5 years this time slip is reported or was reported, As we've gone into the modern era, people have not reported it. I think they're scared to come forward. But what we know, between 1978 and 1979, we have a family on holiday. Now, they are the Mongolis family. They have a 11-year-old boy, and you've got the husband and wife. They're walking around Horning, enjoying a lovely day. Now, Horning is one of the must-visit locations if you go to the Norfolk Broards. It is beautiful. The buildings there are very old-looking, cottages and old pubs. It's lovely, which makes it more interesting what they describe. They're walking down Lower Street, and all of a sudden this nice, lovely, sunny day becomes quite oppressive and dark, and they feel quite dizzy, and things start going a little bit blurry. All the sound around them deadens and everything's like muffled. As they look up, all the buildings that were modern in front of them all start changing shape into older cottages and more rundown cottages. This lasts for sort of like 10-15 seconds. They're looking ahead down Lower Street and they see people wearing clothes that are sort of like 100 years before. And the buildings look like older buildings from 100 years ago. As I say, it doesn't last long, and again the feeling of this dizziness continues. The blurriness sort of shimmers again, and the buildings go back to their modern image. Now, this leaves them stunned and shaken. All three of them see it. They all agree that they see it, and they don't know what to make of it. Now, apparently they went to one of the local pubs there and were talking to people in the pub, and they told someone about what just happened. And they described one of these cottages that is no longer there. Apparently the person in the pub pointed to a painting on the wall, and they was able to identify the cottage that they'd just seen. The person at the pub turns around and tells them that that cottage was pulled down over 50 years ago. So it is a strange story, but what makes it stranger is that they're not the only people to experience this on Lower Street and other roads around Horning. In 1984 we have another report, this time from the Pierce family. Now, the Pierce family know the Broards very well. They spend a lot of time over the summer always going to the Broards, and they've got friends who live around the area. So they're very used to walking these roads of Horning and going up down the River Burt. But this time they've come down, they've gone past the Swan pub, and they're looking to moor up along the side. Now, this is 1984 and things were slightly different. If you tried to moor your boat along the banks there now, you're in for quite a big charge. But apparently, if you knew people along there, you could moor up and get away with mooring up and not being penalised for it. They carried on down the river just a little bit further till they found a spot where they could moor up. They moored their boat and they got out and they cut through the bushes onto Lower Street. This was quite a long walk back to the Swan Inn, but it's a lovely day and they've been stuck on the boat for a few hours, so it's nice to stretch their legs. Again, like the last family, they're walking along and all the sound around them goes dull. They get this very oppressive feel over them, so much so that it starts to make them feel very sick. At the same time, their vision starts going blurred and the buildings around them manifest into these older type buildings. Now, the vision this time doesn't last half as long as it did before sort of shifting back and leaving them stunned and not knowing what they've just experienced. They go to the Swan Inn and they're not sure if, quite sensibly, thinking they've got a leak on the boat, that he's putting fumes into the boat, are they hallucinating? They're going through all the rational things. And I'll tell you now, I've been on my friend's boat in the back of one of those going on Norfolk Broards, and the diesel fumes that was coming out of his boat, I'm surprised I wasn't hallucinating, I tell you. But yes, sensible thinking, trying to work out what's caused it. They get to the Swan Inn, and again, they're talking to people in there, and they're telling them that they've just had this really weird thing happen to them, and they don't know if they've been overcome by fumes, when they turn around and say, oh, actually, a few years ago, we had a family in here saying that they'd just seen all the street turn into older buildings. So again, you've got two reports there that sort of back each other up. But as I said, this wasn't the only road where this happens. So now we're in 1989 and we don't have the family's name. We know there are 4 of them. You've got the mother and father and 2 children. They've driven to Horning and not come down by boat, and they've parked at the village hall. This is down Mill Hill. They've parked down there as it's free parking, and they're walking back to the riverside so they can take a stroll along the river. They have a fantastic time walking around Horning. They go into the Swan, have a few drinks, walk around a few of the shops, and there's not many shops there to be truthful to look around. If you live in Horning and you've got a house, get just changed to a little modern, was it a home bakery or something like that? You do so much trade down there. When you're going past on a boat and you stop off, there's not much to buy. So you have to go to Wroxham to get stuff. It almost feels that Horning doesn't want to be busy. It wants to be left alone, but at the same time makes all this trade from the Norfolk Broards. Quite a bizarre feeling, to be truthful. But the day is getting on and it's time to head back to the car. They're walking down Mill Hill. And the houses are quite modern as you walk down now. Same thing starts to happen. The oppressive feeling overcomes them. The visions start going blurry. The light changes from a nice sunny day to quite a murky image. They find themselves standing on a dirt track road with no houses along the edge of it, apart from one cottage, and they've stopped walking and they're just standing there staring, and they see this lady in the garden of this cottage, and she's wearing, like other people described, older fashioned clothing, sort of clothing from about 100 years ago. Like all the other ones, the image blurs again and goes back to normal, and all the modern building houses pop up along that street. Now the guy, although shaken by this, was more interested in the paranormal stuff, and he went away and done a little bit of research, and that is when he started digging up all the other time slips and done a little thing that went on to Weird Norfolk, which is a website and a book that they've published and a podcast and all that. I think they're doing a podcast at the moment, or that may be another one, sorry, but there's a Weird Norfolk website that publishes a lot of these weird stories. But he started linking up this Mill Hill with this old cottage, and it does turn out that Mill Hill wasn't a really populated location, but it did have a few old cottages shoved down some ends of that road, and it was mainly an unmade road until about 50 years before. So again, it matches up with past history with their visions. So I don't know if you can just throw these away as bizarre coincidences. It's really difficult. Time slips I find really hard to explain. Normally when you're talking about ghosts, you can always find a different explanation for ghosts. These time slips say the more I'm going down this rabbit hole of them, the more I'm getting confused by them. These are normal people experiencing these strange phenomenons. But looking at suggestions that people have given for the Horning time slips, there seems to be a common theme that people come up with, is that if these are happening on hot days, maybe there's some form of natural gas that is forming along the riverbed that is causing hallucinations. Why is it always the road turning into old-fashioned roads and old cottages popping back up from the past? I don't know. But if there's any possibility that these people have studied the history of Horning beforehand, or they've been in the pubs and looked at the paintings beforehand, some weird thing goes on in their mind and they start imagining that they're there. I don't know. It's really hard. I'm struggling to get any explanation for these. They are strange. Someone said to me, is there, here's one of the comments, is there any evidence of time slips in modern times where cameras have been used? There is, and I'm going to go to that location eventually, but that's in Trafalgar Square, and it's a shop that is on the edge of Trafalgar Square, overlooking the road onto where the Lions are. And the lad that it happened to walked out the shop and said that he walked into old Victorian London and he just stood there staring at it. Knowing that the shop he had walked into, this is a modern shop, this is only a few years ago, he went back in and asked them to check the CCTV to see if it captured anything changing outside as he exited the shop. All they see on the CCTV is him walking out the door of the shop and standing dead still. But in the distance, in the bottom half of the video, you could see modern vehicles going past. So even though he see that, the evidence suggests that this isn't being captured on video, that this is in their heads. Your mind is travelling and may not be the location that's travelling, if you know what I mean. So you're not actually going physically back in time, but your mind is tripping back into that time. Maybe that's got something to do with power, and you're picking up on some wave different thing in your brain, and I'm waffling on, I don't know what I'm saying, but you try and explain this. But it was interesting that he went back and looked at the CCTV to see if it was capturing anything on there at all. And now, disappointingly, I guess it would have been fantastic if the camera was pointed up a little bit and you could see Victorian buses going around and all that sort of stuff. But apparently he said no, it was just modern motor vehicles going past in the bottom of the camera. So again, I mean, that rules out that possibility. Now, going back to the theory about gases. In the 1920s and 1930s, a lot of locals around Horning started reporting seeing ghosts floating across the river, floating across the fens and the marshes and all this sort of stuff, and become quite a well-known phenomenon, these ghosts of these blue figures floating around. These turn out to be will-o'-the-wisps. These are formed by natural gases that glow. We've looked at them before on some other fenland and some other hilltops, and it is just natural gases coming out the ground, and they're luminous and people can spot them. Does this mean that these natural gases are a problem around the Norfolk Broads even today? Could that be the real explanation, that all these people are just hallucinating from inhaling these natural gases? We're not talking about balloons, are we? I mean, if you know what I mean, the old gas canisters you see everywhere. It's just I'm grabbing at straws. But you know, Horning's got a lot of ghost stories. You've got, you know, the haunted pub, which is the Swan Inn, maybe haunted by an old landlady, all this sort of stuff around the area. You've got the old ghosts of the Saxons that are meant to haunt it, people who died in the battle around there. So you've got a lot of the normal paranormal stuff. But looking at the Timeslips stuff, it's weird because, again, we are looking at something that's meant to reoccur every 5 years. Now, I'm guessing you've got to be pot luck to be walking along that street and if it's happened to you. But again, we're looking at something that first reported back in 1979 or 78. But I did find something from 1940, which is a bit of a spanner in the works. It's a year out of the 5-year cycle, but nevertheless, it's a slightly interesting story. Okay, so in 1940, we have the Home Guard are putting up lights around the Ferry Inn in Horning. Now, once the lights are up, the guards are just walking around the village and checking that everything is okay. Now, unfortunately, I'll tell you a bit at the end about the Ferry Inn and the searchlights, but one of the Home Guard is walking along Lower Street when he comes over what he described as all peculiar. He sinks to his knees and thinks he's going to be sick. When he looks up, the road that he knows that is Lower Street isn't Lower Street. Not only is it sort of like a dirt track, but it's rather flooded and a little bit boggy. He looks up and he sees a gentleman coming down that road in a horse and cart. Before he can put himself together and work out what is going on, the image disappears. Now, during the war, a lot of people were under stress and weird things like that, they were put down to hallucinations and the causes of stress and all that sort of stuff. He didn't really say anything about it. A few years later, he describes it to other people in the village, and it becomes, I guess, one of our first possible time slips. Now, unfortunately, that gentleman went on to be on guard at the Ferry Inn in 1941 when it got struck by a German bomb, and 20 people there got killed. He survived, but that was targeted in that village for hosting the searchlights, so it has a tragic consequences for that. And again, this was about the history of haunting. There's a lot there. You've got the Anglo-Saxons and the battles that were going on. You've got labourers that are drowned harvesting the reeds around the area. So again, it's got quite a tragic history, although it is stunningly beautiful. Anyway, I thought I'd make this video. Weren't intending to make this video a time slip video, but I started looking into it, and the more I looked into it, I just got deeper and deeper and deeper, and I thought, well, I'm going to have to make a video about it now, because it was intriguing me. The thought that this time slip happens every 5 years. I don't know when it'll be due again, not working it out. What are we? So I guess it's due in a couple of years' time from now. So take your chances, walk up and down Lower Street all year and see if you end up in a time slip. Going by these reports, it always seems to happen during the summertime, and during the daytime. None of them are really of an evening, and there's no reports here from the winter. So we've narrowed it down a little bit for you. So it's the best we can do. But yeah, go and have fun. But again, thank you for all the support you are showing me. We're nearly at 11,000 subscribers. I think we're like 70 away. So doing really well. We're nearly there. So yeah, getting excited about that. That'd be fantastic. But again, thank you for the buy me a coffees. Thank you for the membership. Thank you for the super thanks. And yeah, all the new subscribers, welcome aboard. I hope you enjoy it. Welcome to the new members, and there'll be a new members video up very soon. But apart from that, this is for Tuesday, and I'll see you in the next video on Friday. See you soon. Bye.